10 years. And this is my reward? Kendra's whisper trembled with heartbreak. In the dim glow of their Manhattan penthouse, Kendra froze outside the bedroom door. Through the crack, she saw Aaron, her husband, entwined with Olivia, their lips locked in a fervent kiss. Her heart shattered, a silent scream trapped in her chest. She slumped against the wall, hands stifling a sob, tears brimming. Memories of a decade's devotion flashed like a cruel wind. "What did I do wrong?" she murmured, staring into the hallway mirror, her gaze hardening from pain to resolve. Kendra walked away, her spirit steeling. Would she crumble under betrayal or rise to reclaim her power? Could Aaron's remorse ever mend what's broken? And what secrets would Olivia's schemes unravel? Stay riveted. Kendra's journey from devastation to triumph will leave you breathless, questioning love's true cost. In the heart of Manhattan, where skyscrapers cast long shadows over dreams, Kendra Williams stepped into her penthouse, the air heavy with the scent of jasmine and betrayal. The city's pulse thrummed outside, but inside her world teetered on the edge of collapse. Her heels clicked softly on the polished hardwood, a stark contrast to the chaos brewing in her chest. She'd spent the day commanding boardrooms, her poise unshakable, but now in the sanctuary of her home, vulnerability crept in like an uninvited guest. The soft glow of crystal chandeliers bathed the living room, revealing Olivia Bennett sprawled on the velvet sofa, a martini glass dangling from her manicured fingers. Her platinum blonde hair caught the light, a crown of audacity, as she smirked with the confidence of someone who'd already won. "Kendra, darling," Olivia purred, her voice dripping with false warmth. "I'm back from Milan. Aaron said I could crash here for a bit. The master bedroom's mine now. You're fine with the guest room, right?" Her green eyes sparkled with malice, daring Kendra to protest. Kendra's breath caught, her fingers tightening around the strap of her purse. The room seemed to shrink, the walls pressing in as Olivia's words sliced through her. 10 years of marriage, a decade of shared laughter and whispered promises, and now this. Her home, her sanctuary, was being claimed by a woman whose presence felt like a stain on her life's canvas. She stood tall, her elegance unwavering in her off-shoulder white dress, its corset hugging her waist, the flowing voile skirt brushing her ankles. But beneath the poised exterior, her heart pounded, a drumbeat of disbelief and hurt. "This is my home, Olivia," Kendra said, her voice steady but laced with steel. "You don't get to decide where I sleep." Aaron Hayes emerged from the hallway, his tailored suit slightly rumpled, his dark eyes avoiding Kendra's. Once those eyes had held her world, promising forever under a starlit sky. Now they darted to Olivia, a flicker of something Kendra couldn't name. Guilt, perhaps, or cowardice. "Kendra, don't make a scene," he said, his tone clipped, dismissive. "It's just temporary. Olivia needs a place to stay." Kendra's chest tightened, a sharp pang slicing through her. Temporary? Like the vows they'd exchanged? Like the nights she'd stayed up, balancing his failing ad agency's books while he chased fleeting fame? 10 years, Aaron, she said, her voice low, trembling with the weight of betrayal. 10 years of building a life together. And this is my reward? Aaron's jaw tensed, but he didn't meet her gaze. Olivia sipped her martini, her lips curving into a triumphant smile. "Oh, Kendra, don't be so dramatic," she said, swirling the glass. "Aaron's just being kind. You wouldn't begrudge me a little comfort, would you?" The words were a blade, twisting deeper. Kendra's mind raced, memories flooding in. Late nights cooking Aaron's favorite meals, the way he'd once kissed her forehead and called her his anchor. Now, that anchor felt like a chain, dragging her into depths she hadn't seen coming. She wanted to scream, to demand answers, but pride held her tongue. She wouldn't give Olivia the satisfaction of seeing her unravel. Instead, she turned, her movements deliberate, and set her purse on the marble counter. "I'll sleep wherever I damn well please," she said, her voice a quiet storm. "This is still my home." But as she spoke, doubt gnawed at her. Was it? Could a home exist where love had been so carelessly discarded? The next morning, Kendra sat in a sterile doctor's office, the city's skyline a distant blur through the window. The doctor, a kind-eyed woman with a clipboard, scanned her chart with a frown. Ms. Williams, your blood pressure's spiking, she said gently. Stress is taking a toll. You need rest, maybe a vacation, and we should schedule a full checkup soon. Kendra nodded, her fingers tracing the edge of her chair. Rest? The word felt foreign, a luxury she couldn't afford. Not when her marriage was crumbling, not when Olivia's laughter echoed in her home like a taunt. I'll manage, she said, her voice hollow. I always do. As she left the office, the weight of the doctor's words settled on her shoulders. Stress wasn't just a number on a chart, it was the ache in her chest, the sleepless nights wondering when Aaron had stopped seeing her. She walked through Manhattan's bustling streets, the honks and chatter, a distant hum. Her mind replayed Olivia's smirk, Aaron's indifference. Had she been blind all along, pouring herself into a man who'd already checked out? Back at the penthouse, Kendra found Olivia lounging by the floor-to-ceiling windows, scrolling through her phone, her presence an invasion. Aaron was nowhere in sight, likely at his agency, chasing deals that Kendra's quiet investments had kept afloat. She'd never told him, never wanted his gratitude or pity. It was her way of holding their family together, a silent sacrifice now mocked by Olivia's audacity. You look tired, Kendra, Olivia said, not looking up. Rough day at the office? Or is it the guest room bed? Her tone was syrupy, laced with venom. Kendra's hands clenched, but she forced a smile. I've slept in worse places than the guest room, she said, her voice calm but sharp. And I've built more than you'll ever understand. She turned away, refusing to let Olivia see the crack in her armor. But as she walked to the guest room, her steps faltered. The room was sparse, a stark contrast to the warmth of the master suite she'd designed with Aaron. She sank onto the bed, her fingers brushing the cool sheets, and let a single tear fall. In that moment, Kendra felt the weight of her sacrifices, years of supporting Aaron's dreams, of swallowing her own pain to keep their marriage afloat. She'd been the backbone, the strategist, the one who held them together while he drifted. And now Olivia's presence was a cruel reminder of her failure to keep his heart. But failure wasn't the end. Kendra's eyes hardened, her resolve coalescing like a storm gathering strength. She wouldn't beg for Aaron's love, wouldn't let Olivia's games break her. She stood, smoothing her dress, and walked to the window. Manhattan sprawled before her, a city of ambition and resilience. Kendra had clawed her way through boardrooms, faced whispers about her race and gender, and emerged victorious. If Aaron thought he could reduce her to a guest in her own life, he was mistaken. She wasn't just his wife. She was Kendra Williams, a force who'd built empires in the shadows, and she was done hiding. As she stared at the city lights, her phone buzzed. A text from Malik, her colleague and friend. You're stronger than they know. Call me if you need to talk. A faint smile touched her lips. Malik's words were a lifeline, a reminder that she wasn't alone. She didn't reply, not yet. Instead, she tucked the phone away, her heart steadying. Olivia could play her games and Aaron could turn his back. But Kendra would not break. Not tonight. Not ever. The penthouse felt like a battlefield, each room a testament to her past with Aaron. But Kendra wasn't fighting for a man who'd chosen another. She was fighting for herself, for the woman she'd always been beneath the hurt. As she closed the guest room door, she made a silent vow. She'd reclaim her life, piece by piece, until the pain of this night was just a memory. The city outside pulsed with possibility, and Kendra felt its rhythm echo in her veins. She wasn't defeated. She was just beginning. The Manhattan skyline glittered like a promise, but for Kendra Williams, it was a reminder of battles fought in silence. After the sting of Aaron's betrayal, she carried the weight of her resolve like armor, each step through the city a testament to her unyielding spirit. The penthouse, once a haven, now felt like a cage, its walls echoing Olivia's taunts and Aaron's indifference. Yet Kendra refused to crumble. She channeled her pain into purpose, her heart a furnace forging determination from despair. Today she would face the boardroom, not as a scorned wife, but as a woman who'd built empires in the shadows. In the sleek offices of Pinnacle Advertising, Kendra stood before a conference table lined with skeptical faces. The boardroom's glass walls framed the city's pulse, a backdrop to her ambition. Her tailored blazer hugged her frame, a stark contrast to the vulnerability she'd felt in the guest room last night. She clicked through slides, her voice steady as she pitched a daring campaign to land a major client, a luxury brand that could elevate Pinnacle to new heights. Her eyes, dark and resolute, met each board member's gaze, daring them to doubt her. "This campaign isn't just bold," Kendra said, her tone commanding. "It's a game changer. We'll redefine luxury for a new generation, and Pinnacle will lead the charge." Her words carried the weight of years spent proving herself, a black woman navigating a world that often questioned her place. The board murmured, some nodding, others unconvinced. "Ambitious, Miss Williams," said Mr. Hargrove, a silver-haired executive with a skeptical frown. "But risky. The client's conservative. Can you guarantee results?" Kendra's lips curved, a spark of defiance in her smile. "I've faced bigger risks and won. Trust my vision." Her confidence masked the turmoil within. Nights spent balancing Aaron's failing agency, sacrificing her own dreams to keep us afloat. She'd never told him, never wanted his gratitude. It was her love, her silent vow to their marriage, now mocked by his betrayal. As the meeting ended, Malik Carter lingered, his warm brown eyes meeting hers. A colleague and friend he'd always seen through her polished exterior. "You killed it in there," he said, leaning against the table. "But you look like you're carrying the world. What's going on?" Kendra hesitated, her fingers tracing the edge of her tablet. Malik's kindness was a balm, but admitting her pain felt like surrender. "Just a long night," she said, her voice softer than intended. "Aaron's made some choices." Malik's jaw tightened, but he didn't push. "You've been propping up his agency for years, haven't you? Using your own funds to keep it alive? Why don't you tell him?" Her breath caught, the truth laid bare. She'd funneled money into Aaron's company through discreet investments, a lifeline to their shared dreams. It was her way of holding their family together, even as he drifted to Olivia. "What's the point?" she said, her voice tinged with bitterness. "He doesn't see me anymore, Malik. Not the way he used to." Malik stepped closer, his presence steadying. "You're more than his wife, Kendra. You're a force. Don't let him or her dim that." His words stirred something in her, a flicker of hope amidst the ache. She nodded, managing a faint smile, but the weight of her sacrifices pressed harder. That evening, Kendra returned to the penthouse, bracing herself for another skirmish. Olivia was in the kitchen, her laughter grating as she poured wine, her silk dress clinging to her frame. Aaron stood nearby, his smile easy, as if Kendra's absence was a relief. The sight twisted something deep within her, a wound still raw from last night's humiliation. "Oh, Kendra, you're back," Olivia said, her tone syrupy. "Rough day? You look exhausted." She reached for a glass, then, with a deliberate flick of her wrist, let it slip, red wine splashing across Kendra's blazer. "Oops, I'm so clumsy," Olivia said, her eyes gleaming with malice. Kendra froze, the stain spreading like her anger. Her heart pounded, a tempest of hurt and rage. She wanted to lash out, to wipe the smirk from Olivia's face, but she swallowed the impulse. "It's just a jacket," she said, her voice icy. "I've cleaned up worse messes." She met Olivia's gaze unflinching, her pride a shield against the provocation. Aaron glanced over, his expression unreadable. "Olivia, let's not start," he said, but his tone lacked conviction, a half-hearted attempt at peace. Kendra's chest ached at his apathy, the man she'd loved, now a stranger. She turned away, heading for the sink, her hands trembling as she dabbed at the stain. Each scrub felt like an attempt to erase the pain, but it clung stubbornly, like Olivia's presence in her home. As she worked, her mind churned. She'd spent years building Aaron's dreams, her own ambitions woven into his success. She'd endured boardroom battles, whispers about her race, her gender, all while keeping his agency afloat. And for what? To be relegated to the guest room, her sacrifices unseen? The realization burned, a fire kindling in her core. She wasn't just Aaron's wife. She was Kendra Williams, a woman who'd faced giants and won. Olivia's games wouldn't break her. Later, alone in the guest room, Kendra stood by the window, the city's lights a mosaic of possibility. Her phone buzzed, Malik's name lighting up the screen. "You're stronger than they know." Call me if you need to talk. The message warmed her, a reminder of her worth beyond Aaron's betrayal. She didn't reply, but her fingers lingered on the phone, her heart steadying. Malik saw her, not as a shadow of Aaron, but as a woman in her own right. She sank onto the bed, the silence heavy with her thoughts. The guest room felt like a metaphor for her life, pushed aside, undervalued. But Kendra refused to stay there. She closed her eyes, picturing the boardroom, her campaign, the client she'd win. Her work was her fortress, a place where Olivia's taunts couldn't reach. She'd built Pinnacle's reputation, and she'd build herself anew. The wine stain on her blazer lingered in her mind, a symbol of Olivia's audacity. Kendra's fingers clenched, her resolve hardening. She wouldn't confront Olivia tonight. That would be giving her power. Instead, she'd fight on her own terms, in the boardroom, where her brilliance shone. Aaron might have forgotten her, but the world wouldn't. She'd make sure of it. As she lay down, the city's hum seeped through the window, a lullaby of resilience. Kendra's heart, though bruised, beat with purpose. She wasn't the woman who'd begged for Aaron's love years ago. She was a warrior, forged in pain and ambition. Olivia could play her games, and Aaron could turn away. But Kendra would rise. She'd face the board tomorrow, not as a victim, but as a queen claiming her throne. The guest room wasn't her prison. It was her starting line. Kendra Williams carried the weight of Aaron's betrayal like a stone in her chest, yet she walked with the grace of a woman who refused to break. The wine stain on her blazer, Olivia's cruel taunt, still lingered in her mind, but she channeled her pain into a fire that fueled her resolve. The Manhattan penthouse, once a symbol of love, now mocked her with its opulence, each corner whispering of a life unraveling. Tonight, though, she would face the world, not as Aaron's discarded wife, but as Kendra, the force who'd clawed her way through prejudice to shine. The city's pulse beat in time with her heart, urging her forward, even as the ache of betrayal threatened to pull her under. In the quiet of the penthouse, Kendra stood outside the master bedroom, her hand hovering over the door. She'd come to retrieve a file, a mundane task that felt like stepping into a lion's den. The door was ajar, and through the crack, she saw them, Aaron and Olivia, entwined in a fervent embrace, their lips locked in a kiss that burned with reckless passion. Kendra's breath caught, her heart splintering like glass. The sight was a dagger, twisting deep, each second etching the betrayal into her soul. She stumbled back, her shoulder hitting the wall, her hand flying to her mouth to stifle a sob. Tears welled, hot and unbidden, as 10 years of marriage flashed before her. Vows spoken under a starlit sky, laughter shared over late-night coffee, promises now reduced to ash. "What did I do wrong?" she whispered, her voice a fragile thread. She caught her reflection in the hallway mirror, her dark eyes wide with pain, yet glinting with something new, resolve. The woman staring back wasn't just a wife scorned. She was a survivor, forged in the crucible of heartbreak. Her breath steadied, her fingers brushing away tears. She wouldn't let this moment define her. With a final glance at the bedroom door, she turned away, her steps silent but resolute, her heart hardening like steel in a forge. The next evening, Kendra stood amidst the glittering chaos of a corporate gala, the city's elite swirling around her in a haze of champagne and ambition. Her white dress, its corset cinched, its voile skirt flowing, made her a vision of elegance. But inside, she was a storm. The gala was her battleground, a chance to secure a major client for Pinnacle advertising. Yet Olivia's presence loomed, her laughter cutting through the crowd like a blade. Kendra's heart clenched, the memory of that kiss a fresh wound. But she squared her shoulders, refusing to falter. As she mingled, presenting her campaign with flawless precision, Olivia struck. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Rumors that Kendra had mishandled client data, jeopardizing a scandal that could cost Pinnacle a fortune. The accusation was a lie, a venomous arrow aimed at her reputation. Kendra's pulse raced, her hands trembling as she faced the crowd's scrutiny. She'd fought too hard, endured too many slights as a black woman in this industry to let Olivia's schemes unravel her. "Kendra, you're embarrassing yourself," Aaron said, approaching with a frown, his voice low but cutting. Step back before you make this worse. His words stung, a reminder of his betrayal, his ease in siding with Olivia. The man she'd loved, who'd once cheered her triumphs, now stood against her, his eyes cold. Kendra's chest tightened, hurt mingling with fury. "I'm embarrassing myself," she said, her voice steady despite the storm within. "I've carried this company, Aaron. You don't get to lecture me." She turned away, her heart pounding, the crowd's murmurs a distant roar. She wouldn't let them see her break. Not Aaron, not Olivia, not the world. Malik Carter found her near the bar, his presence a quiet anchor in the chaos. "You're the star here, Kendra," he said, his voice warm, his eyes seeing through her mask. "Don't let their lies dim you. You've got this." His words were a lifeline, pulling her from the edge. Kendra managed a nod, her throat tight. "They're trying to bury me, Malik," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Olivia's lies, Aaron's betrayal. It's too much." "It's not too much for you," Malik replied, his gaze steady. "You've faced worse and come out stronger. Show them who you are." Kendra's heart lifted, Malik's faith igniting a spark within her. She wasn't just fighting for a client. She was fighting for herself, for the woman who'd built a career against all odds. She straightened, her eyes blazing with determination. Olivia's rumors wouldn't ruin her. She'd turn this scandal into her triumph. As the gala continued, Kendra took the stage, her voice commanding attention. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her tone clear, unwavering. "There's been talk of a data breach. Let me set the record straight. Our systems are secure, and our campaign will redefine this industry. Trust in Pinnacle, trust in me." Her words silenced the whispers, her presence a beacon of strength. The crowd applauded, some reluctantly, but Kendra felt their eyes shift from doubt to respect. Backstage, she exhaled, her hands trembling with the effort of holding herself together. Malik appeared, offering a glass of water. "You were incredible," he said, his smile genuine. "They can't touch you." Kendra took the glass, her fingers brushing his, a fleeting moment of warmth. "I'm trying," she said, her voice soft. "But it hurts, Malik. Seeing him with her, believing her lies, it cuts deep." "I know," he said, his voice gentle. "But you're not alone. You've got me, and you've got you, the strongest woman I know." Her lips curved, a fragile smile breaking through. Malik's words were a reminder of her worth, a counterpoint to Aaron's dismissal. She sipped the water, letting it cool the fire in her throat. The gala's lights glittered, but Kendra's focus was inward. She'd spent years building Aaron's dreams, enduring slights in boardrooms, all while keeping their marriage alive. Now, with Olivia's lies and Aaron's betrayal, she saw the truth. Her strength was her own, not tied to a man who'd forgotten her. As she left the gala, the city's hum enveloped her, a symphony of resilience. Kendra's heart, though scarred, beat with purpose. Olivia could spread rumors, and Aaron could turn away, but she wouldn't falter. She'd face the boardroom tomorrow, not as a victim, but as a warrior. The pain of that kiss lingered, a bruise on her soul, but it fueled her fire. She'd prove them wrong, not just tonight, but every night after. Her reflection in a storefront window caught her eye, and she saw not a broken wife, but a woman ready to reclaim her power. The city was her stage, and Kendra was done playing a supporting role. Kendra Williams walked through the glittering chaos of Manhattan, the city's pulse a faint echo against the storm in her heart. The image of Aaron's lips on Olivia's burned in her mind, a wound that bled with every step. Yet the gala had forged something new within her, a steely resolve to reclaim her life. She'd faced the whispers of scandal, turned them into her triumph, but the victory felt hollow when her home was a battlefield. Tonight, she would confront the wreckage of her marriage, not with tears, but with a strength born of betrayal's fire. The city's lights flickered like stars, urging her forward, but the weight of 10 years with Aaron pulled at her soul, a tether she wasn't sure she could sever. Kendra returned to the penthouse, her steps heavy, her elegant white dress a stark contrast to the turmoil within. The air was thick with tension, Olivia's perfume lingering like a taunt. Kendra had hoped to find Aaron alone, to demand answers, but fate had other plans. Her phone buzzed. a cryptic message from an unknown number. Meet me at the old warehouse on 10th. Come alone. Her heart raced, suspicion mingling with dread. Was this Olivia's next move? She hesitated, her fingers trembling, but the need for truth overpowered her fear. She grabbed her coat, her resolve hardening like granite. The warehouse loomed in the shadows of outer Manhattan, its rusted walls a grim stage for whatever awaited. Kendra stepped inside, the cold biting through her coat. The dim light revealed Olivia, bound to a chair, her eyes wide with feigned panic. Before Kendra could speak, rough hands seized her, and a cloth pressed against her face. Darkness swirled, but she fought, her nails clawing at her attacker. When she woke, she was tied beside Olivia, a hulking figure looming over them, his voice a low growl. 5 million, one life. Hayes chooses. Kendra's heart pounded, her mind reeling. This was no random crime. It reeked of Olivia's machinations. Her eyes met Olivia's, who smirked despite her restraints. You thought you could keep him, Olivia whispered, her voice venomous. Aaron's mine. This is just the beginning. Kendra's chest tightened, not from fear, but from the raw ache of betrayal. Olivia's words were a mirror to her pain, reflecting a decade of loyalty now crumbling. She'd poured herself into Aaron's dreams, balanced his books, endured his distance, all for a love that had slipped through her fingers. The warehouse's chill seeped into her bones, but her spirit burned. She wouldn't let Olivia's games break her. Aaron arrived, his face pale, a briefcase clutched in his hand. The sight of him twisted Kendra's heart, once her protector, now her betrayer. The thug repeated his demand. 5 million. One life. Choose. Aaron's eyes darted between them, his jaw tight. Kendra held her breath, a flicker of hope warring with dread. Would he see her, the woman who'd held him up for years, or had Olivia's charm erased her? Olivia, Aaron said, his voice barely audible. I choose Olivia. The words were a sledgehammer, shattering the last fragments of Kendra's hope. Her heart lurched, a silent scream echoing in her chest. 10 years, vows, laughter, dreams reduced to this moment, where she was nothing to him. Tears stung her eyes, but she blinked them away, refusing to let them fall. Olivia's triumphant laugh cut through the silence, a blade twisting deeper. Kendra's gaze locked on Aaron, searching for remorse, but found only a flicker of guilt before he looked away. The thug untied Olivia, who sauntered to Aaron, her smile victorious. You made the right choice, darling, she purred, clinging to his arm. Kendra's ropes bit into her wrists, but the pain was nothing compared to the agony in her soul. She'd given Aaron everything, her love, her sacrifices, her silence. And he'd chosen a woman who'd orchestrated this cruel charade. Left alone in the warehouse, Kendra's breath came in shallow gasps. The cold concrete pressed against her, a stark reminder of her isolation. I gave you everything, Aaron, she whispered, her voice breaking. The words hung in the air, a requiem for their marriage. Memories flooded her, late nights working to save his agency, the warmth of his hand in hers, now cold as the warehouse walls. She'd been his anchor, but he'd cut her loose. Her fingers worked at the ropes, her nails tearing as she fought for freedom. Each tug was a defiance, a refusal to let this moment define her. She wasn't just Aaron's wife. She was Kendra Williams, a woman who'd faced boardrooms and bigots and never backed down. The ropes loosened, and she stumbled to her feet, her heart a furnace of pain and resolve. Olivia's laughter echoed in her mind, but it only fueled her fire. She wouldn't beg for a love that had betrayed her. As she staggered out into the night, the city's hum enveloped her, a lifeline to her strength. Her phone buzzed. Malik checking in. You okay? I'm here. The message was a beacon, a reminder that she wasn't alone. She didn't reply, her hands still shaking, but Malik's words steadied her. He saw her, not as a shadow of Aaron, but as a woman who'd built empires in silence. Kendra's mind churned as she walked, the warehouse fading behind her. Olivia's scheme had been about more than Aaron. She wanted his company, his wealth, everything Kendra had propped up. The realization burned, a bitter truth. Kendra had funneled her own money into Aaron's failing agency, a secret she'd kept to preserve their family. Now that sacrifice felt like a chain she needed to break. The city's lights blurred through her tears, But Kendra's steps grew firmer. She wouldn't confront Aaron tonight. His choice had said enough. Instead, she'd fight on her terms in the world she'd mastered. The warehouse had stripped her bare, but it had also revealed her strength. She wasn't the woman who'd stood outside that bedroom door, heartbroken and questioning. She was a warrior, forged in betrayal's fire, ready to reclaim her life. As she reached the edge of Manhattan, Kendra paused, the skyline a canvas of possibility. Her heart, though scarred, beat with purpose. Olivia could scheme, and Aaron could choose her, but Kendra would rise above them. She'd built Aaron's dreams once. She'd build her own now. The night air was cold, but her resolve was a flame, burning bright against the darkness. This wasn't the end. It was her beginning. Kendra Williams emerged from the warehouse's shadow, the sting of Aaron's choice. Olivia over her, searing her soul like a brand. Yet in the crucible of betrayal, she'd found a spark of defiance, a resolve to reclaim her life. The Manhattan skyline, glittering against the night, was no longer just a backdrop. It was a mirror to her ambition, a call to rise above the pain. A year had passed since that cold night, and Kendra had transformed her heartbreak into power. The city's pulse now beat in sync with her own, each step a testament to the woman she'd become. Not a discarded wife, but a force commanding her own destiny. In the sleek boardroom of Pinnacle Advertising, Kendra stood at the helm, her presence a quiet storm. The glass walls framed the city's sprawl, a reminder of the battles she'd fought to reach this moment. Her tailored suit hugged her frame, a stark contrast to the vulnerability she'd once felt in her own home. A year ago, Pinnacle had acquired Aaron's failing ad agency, swallowing his dreams into her empire. Now, as CEO, she orchestrated campaigns that reshaped the industry, her brilliance undeniable, despite the whispers of doubt that had trailed her as a black woman in a cutthroat world. The boardroom buzzed with anticipation as Kendra prepared to brief her team on a new campaign. Her voice, steady and commanding, cut through the hum. "This campaign will redefine Pinnacle," she said, her dark eyes sweeping the room. "We're not just selling a brand. We're telling a story of resilience, of rising above." Her words carried a weight only she understood, each syllable a defiance of the pain Aaron and Olivia had inflicted. The team nodded, captivated, unaware of the personal fire fueling her vision. Then the door opened, and Aaron Hayes stepped in, his suit slightly ill-fitting, his face etched with shock. He was a new hire, a junior copywriter under Kendra's command. A cruel twist of fate. His eyes met hers, searching for recognition, for the woman who'd once been his anchor. Kendra's heart clenched, a fleeting echo of the love she'd buried. But she buried it deeper, her expression cool, impenetrable. "Mr. Hayes, I presume," she said, her tone clipped, professional. "I expect you to meet Pinnacle's standards. Take a seat." Her words were a blade, sharp and deliberate, cutting through the past. Aaron blinked, his mouth opening, then closing. The room watched, sensing the tension but unaware of its depth. "Kendra," Aaron stammered, his voice low. "You're the CEO?" Kendra tilted her head, her lips curving into a faint, icy smile. "Have we met?" she said, her voice smooth as glass. "Your name doesn't ring a bell." The lie was a weapon, wielded with precision. She saw the flicker of pain in Aaron's eyes, a mirror to the agony he'd caused her. For a moment she felt a pang, memories of their laughter, their shared dreams. But she crushed it. He'd chosen Olivia, left her in that warehouse. He didn't deserve her remorse. Aaron sank into a chair, his face pale, the weight of her indifference crushing him. Kendra turned back to her team, her focus unwavering. She clicked through the slides, her voice steady, but inside her heart was racing. Being Aaron's boss was a victory, but it came with a cost. Facing the man who'd shattered her day after day. Yet she wouldn't falter. She clawed her way to this position, enduring late nights, boardroom battles, and whispers about her race and gender. This was her empire built from the ashes of her pain. A flashback flickered in her mind. Nights spent in a cramped office, poring over contracts, outsmarting rivals to secure Pinnacle's acquisition of Aaron's agency. She'd faced skepticism, colleagues who doubted a black woman could lead. "You're too emotional," one had said. Kendra had smiled, then delivered results that silenced them. Each victory had been a brick in her fortress, a shield against the hurt Aaron had left behind. Now standing before him, she felt the weight of that triumph, but also the ache of what it had cost. After the meeting, Malik Carter lingered, his warm presence a balm to her frayed nerves. He'd been her rock through the past year, his faith in her a constant light. "You handled that like a queen," he said, leaning against the conference table, his smile soft. "But I saw your face when he walked in. You okay?" Kendra's fingers tightened around her tablet, her guard slipping. "It's strange," she admitted, her voice low. "Seeing him here under my roof, it's like the past is staring me down. I thought I was over it." "You're human," Malik said, his eyes gentle. "You loved him once, but you're not that woman anymore. You're Kendra Williams, CEO, unstoppable." Her throat tightened, Malik's words stirring a warmth she hadn't felt in months. She'd spent so long fighting, Olivia's schemes, Aaron's betrayal, her own doubts, that she'd forgotten how it felt to be seen. "I don't know how to thank you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "You've kept me grounded." "You don't need to thank me," Malik replied, stepping closer. "Just keep shining. That's enough." His hand brushed hers, a fleeting touch that sent a spark through her. For the first time, Kendra felt a flicker of hope, not just for her career, but for her heart. As Malik left, Aaron approached, his expression hesitant. "Kendra, can we talk?" he asked, his voice raw. "About everything." Kendra's heart lurched, the old wound throbbing. She saw the man she'd loved, the one who'd promised her forever, but also the one who'd chosen Olivia in that warehouse. "There's nothing to say, Mr. Hayes," she said, her voice cold. "Your work starts Monday. Don't disappoint me." She turned away, her steps deliberate, each one a rejection of the past. Alone in her office, Kendra stood by the window, the city sprawling below. Her reflection stared back, a woman transformed by pain and power. She'd built Pinnacle into a titan, not for Aaron, but for herself. Yet seeing him stirred memories, late nights laughing, his hand in hers. She pressed her palm to the glass, grounding herself. Those memories were ghosts, not her future. Her phone buzzed. Malik's text. "You're stronger than you know." "Dinner tonight." A smile touched her lips, small but genuine. She typed a reply. "Yes." The word felt like a step forward, a crack in the wall she'd built around her heart. Aaron's presence was a reminder of her pain, but also of her strength. She'd risen from his betrayal, and she'd keep rising. Kendra turned from the window, her resolve a flame that burned brighter than her hurt. The boardroom was her kingdom, and Aaron was just a shadow in it. She'd face him every day, not as his wife, but as his boss, a woman who'd turned her scars into stars. The city hummed below, its rhythm echoing her own, a song of resilience, of a woman unbroken. Kendra Williams stood taller than ever, her heart a fortress forged from the ashes of Aaron's betrayal. The boardroom had become her throne, where she reigned as CEO, her icy dismissal of Aaron a testament to her reclaimed power. Yet the echo of his shocked eyes lingered, a reminder of the man she'd once loved. The Manhattan night pulsed outside, its lights a canvas of ambition. But within Kendra, a quiet ache persisted, not for Aaron, but for the woman she'd been before his choice shattered her. Tonight she would step into a new arena, not to fight for love, but to honor her own strength, a beacon undimmed by the shadows of her past. The grand ballroom of a Manhattan hotel glittered with chandeliers, the air alive with the clink of glasses and the hum of philanthropy. Kendra, in a sleek black gown that hugged her curves, moved through the crowd with grace, her presence commanding. She'd co-organized this charity gala with Malik Carter, a fundraiser for women escaping domestic violence, a cause that struck a chord deep within her. Each smile she offered masked the turmoil of facing Aaron again, his presence in her company a daily test of her resolve. Her heart, though scarred, beat with purpose, fueled by the fire of her own resilience. Malik stood by her side, his tailored tuxedo accentuating his quiet strength. His warm brown eyes met hers, a silent reassurance. "You're a force tonight," he said, his voice low, intimate amidst the crowd's chatter. "This event, it's you, Kendra, changing lives." Kendra's lips curved, a flicker of warmth breaking through her guard. "It's us," she corrected, her voice soft. "You believed in this as much as I did." The gala was more than a fundraiser. It was a declaration of her survival, a way to give voice to the pain she'd buried. Yet the weight of Aaron's gaze from across the room pressed against her, a reminder of the wounds still healing. Aaron lingered near the bar, his face a mix of longing and shame. He clutched a glass, his knuckles white, as if steadying himself against the reality of Kendra's ascent. He'd seen her command the boardroom, felt the sting of her indifference. But tonight, her radiance was a knife to his heart. He'd chosen Olivia, left Kendra in that warehouse, and now the cost of his mistake loomed large. His mind drifted to a memory. A quiet night years ago, Kendra laughing as they danced in their kitchen, her love a light he'd taken for granted. Now she was a stranger, her power a mirror to his failure. As Kendra spoke to donors, her voice steady and passionate, Aaron overheard a conversation that stopped him cold. Olivia at a nearby table was on her phone, her voice low but smug. "The warehouse? My idea," she said, laughing softly. Kendra never stood a chance. Aaron's mine now, and his company's next. The words hit Aaron like a punch, the truth of Olivia's betrayal unraveling his world. She'd orchestrated the kidnapping, played him like a pawn, all to claim his wealth and power. His heart pounded, regret flooding him. He'd chosen wrong, blinded by Olivia's charm, and now Kendra paid the price. He crossed the room, his steps unsteady, driven by a need to make things right. "Kendra," he said, his voice raw as he reached her, "I need to talk. I heard Olivia. She set up the warehouse. I was wrong, about everything. Please, give me a chance." Kendra's breath caught, her eyes meeting his. For a moment she saw the man she'd loved, the one who'd promised forever. But the memory was tainted by his choice, his abandonment. Her heart ached, a dull throb of what might have been, but she steeled herself. "You're a stranger to me now, Aaron," she said, her voice cold, cutting. "What you did, what you chose, it's done. I've moved on." Aaron's face crumpled, the weight of her words crushing him. "I loved you," he whispered, his voice breaking. "I still do. I was a fool." Kendra's throat tightened, a flicker of pain crossing her features. She'd loved him too, poured her soul into their marriage. But love couldn't erase betrayal. "Love doesn't abandon," she said, her voice steady despite the storm within. "You made your choice. Live with it." She turned away, her heart pounding, each step a rejection of the past. As she rejoined Malik, Olivia approached, her smile venomous. "Kendra, you're quite the hostess," she said, her tone dripping with sarcasm. "But you're slipping. I sent an email to the board, hinting at your mismanagement. They'll be watching you now." Kendra's eyes narrowed, her pulse racing. Olivia's schemes were relentless, a constant assault on her peace. But she'd prepared for this. "You're done, Olivia," she said, her voice ablade. "I have your emails, proof you fabricated lies to sabotage me. Security's waiting. You're fired." She signaled to the guards who approached, their faces stern. Olivia's smile faltered, her eyes flashing with rage. "You'll regret this," she hissed, her voice low. "You can't take everything from me." "I already have," Kendra replied, her tone unshakable. As Olivia was escorted out, Kendra felt a surge of triumph, but it was bittersweet. She'd won this battle, but the war, against Aaron's betrayal, against her own pain, was far from over. Malik touched her arm, his presence grounding her. "You okay?" he asked, his voice soft with concern. "That was intense." Kendra exhaled, her hands trembling. "It's never just one fight, is it?" she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Olivia, Aaron, they keep pulling me back to that pain." "You're stronger than their games," Malik said, his eyes steady. "You're building something bigger. Here, tonight, for these women. For yourself." Her heart lifted, Malik's words a lifeline. The gala's energy swirled around her, voices of survivors sharing their stories, a reminder of why she fought. She'd channeled her pain into this event, into a cause that mirrored her own journey. Malik's faith in her was a mirror, reflecting the woman she'd become. Not a victim, but a warrior. As the night wound down, Kendra stood alone by a window, the city's lights a tapestry of hope. Her fingers brushed the gala's program, her name alongside Malik's, a symbol of her impact. Aaron's words echoed in her mind. I loved you, but they were hollow, a ghost of a past she'd outgrown. She'd given him everything, only to be cast aside. Now she was building a life on her terms, one where Olivia's schemes and Aaron's regret couldn't touch her. Kendra's gaze fell on a small table where a donor had left a thank you note. Your strength inspires us. The words warmed her, a reminder that her pain had purpose. She wasn't just surviving, she was thriving, reshaping the world in her image. The gala's music faded, but Kendra's heart beat strong, a rhythm of resilience. She wouldn't let Aaron's remorse pull her back. She was Kendra Williams, a woman who'd turned her scars into stars, and this night was hers. Kendra Williams stood on the precipice of a new dawn, her heart a battlefield where triumph wrestled with the ghosts of betrayal. The charity gala had been her victory, a testament to her resilience against Olivia's schemes and Aaron's remorse. Yet the scars of their actions lingered, a quiet ache beneath her newfound strength. Today she would step into a sacred moment, not as the woman Aaron had discarded, but as Kendra, whole and unyielding. The Manhattan skyline shimmered with promise, its light a beacon for her future. But as she prepared to bind her life to Malik's, the past roared back, demanding one final reckoning. In a grand New York church, bathed in the soft glow of stained glass, Kendra stood radiant in her wedding gown, its ivory silk a symbol of her rebirth. The air hummed with anticipation, guests whispering in awe as she walked the aisle, her eyes locked on Malik Carter. His smile, warm and steady, anchored her, a lifeline through the storm of her past. Her heart swelled, a mix of joy and trepidation. She'd fought to reach this moment, past Aaron's betrayal, Olivia's venom, her own doubts. But the weight of 10 years with Aaron pressed against her, a shadow she couldn't fully shake. Malik took her hand, his touch a quiet vow. You're my home, Kendra, he whispered, his voice thick with emotion, no matter what comes. Her throat tightened, his words washing away the lingering pain. She'd spent so long fighting alone, building empires in silence, that his love felt like a gift she hadn't dared hope for. And you're mine, she replied, her voice soft but resolute, her heart opening to a future untainted by the past. The ceremony began, the priest's words weaving a tapestry of love and commitment. Kendra's chest swelled with hope, each vow a step away from the woman who'd stood outside that bedroom door, heartbroken. But as the guests rose to applaud, a commotion erupted at the church's entrance. Aaron Hayes stormed in, his face haggard, eyes wild with desperation. The crowd gasped, whispers rippling like wildfire. Kendra's heart lurched, a jolt of dread mingling with defiance. She'd faced him as his boss, rebuffed his apologies, but his presence here, on her day, was a violation. Kendra! Aaron's voice echoed, raw and pleading. He held up his phone, a video playing on its screen, projected onto the church's wall. The image was grainy but damning. Kendra in a boardroom, edited to make her seem callous, abandoning Aaron for power. His voiceover accused her of betrayal, of climbing to CEO by stepping on him. She left me broken, he said on the video, his tone dripping with self-pity. Don't let her fool you. The crowd murmured, shock turning to judgment. Kendra's hands trembled, rage and hurt colliding. Aaron had twisted her strength into a weapon, painting her as the villain to salvage his pride. Her eyes met Malik's, his gaze steady, urging her to stand tall. She wouldn't let Aaron's lies steal this moment. Her heart pounded, the memory of his choice in the warehouse, Olivia over her, a fresh wound. But she wasn't that woman anymore, bound by his betrayal. Malik stepped forward, his voice cutting through the chaos. Enough, Aaron, he said, his tone sharp, unyielding. You think this stunt will win her back? You're pathetic. He pulled out his phone, displaying emails and a recording, proof that Aaron had hired a thug to stage an attack on Kendra, hoping to play her savior. You orchestrated that attack to manipulate her, Malik said, his voice rising. And these emails show you and Olivia funneled company funds for your own gain. You're done. The crowd gasped, eyes turning to Aaron. Kendra's breath caught, the revelation a thunderbolt. She'd suspected Olivia's schemes, but Aaron's involvement cut deeper. He'd not only betrayed her heart, but tried to orchestrate her downfall. Her chest ached, a mix of fury and sorrow. She'd loved him once, poured her soul into their marriage, only to face his lies at every turn. Aaron, Kendra said, her voice steady despite the storm within. I loved you once, but I love myself more now. You don't get to rewrite my story. Her words were a blade, slicing through his desperation. The crowd fell silent, her strength a palpable force. Aaron's face crumpled, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. Kendra, I was wrong, he whispered, his voice breaking. I thought I could fix this. You can't fix what you broke, she replied, her tone final. She turned to the priest, nodding. Continue. As the ceremony resumed, security approached Aaron, their presence a silent threat. Kendra's heart raced, but she held Malik's hand, grounding herself. This was her day, her triumph, and Aaron's lies wouldn't steal it. As Aaron was escorted out, he clutched his phone, his voice a desperate plea. I did it for you, Kendra, he said, his words drowned by the crowd's murmurs. Kendra didn't look back. Her heart, though bruised, soared with the certainty of her choice. Malik's love was real, unshaken by Aaron's chaos. She glanced at him, his eyes reflecting her strength, and felt a peace she hadn't known in years. The priest's voice rose, sealing their vows. Do you, Kendra, take Malik as your husband, to love and cherish, for better or worse? Kendra's voice rang clear, unwavering. I do. The words were a declaration, not just of love, but of her freedom. She'd fought through betrayal, lies, and pain to reach this moment, and no one, not Aaron, not Olivia, could take it from her. As the guests applauded, Kendra's eyes met Malik's, a shared promise in their gaze. Her heart swelled, the weight of Aaron's actions lifting. She'd been his anchor, his savior, but now she was her own. The church's light bathed her, a symbol of her rebirth. She wasn't the woman who'd stood in that warehouse, abandoned. She was Kendra Williams, a force who'd turned her pain into power. Outside, the city hummed, its rhythm echoing her resolve. Kendra squeezed Malik's hand, her heart full. Aaron's video had been a final blow, but it had only strengthened her. She'd faced his lies, exposed his truth, and emerged unbroken. The crowd's cheers faded, but Kendra's spirit soared. She was no longer defined by Aaron's choices. She was defined by her own. As the ceremony ended, Kendra stepped into Malik's embrace, her heart steady. The pain of Aaron's betrayal lingered, a faint scar, but it no longer ruled her. She'd built a life beyond his reach, a love that saw her for who she was. The church doors opened, and Kendra walked into the light, her future bright, her past a shadow she'd left behind. Kendra Williams stepped out of the church, her hand entwined with Malik's, her heart alight with a joy she'd thought lost forever. Aaron's desperate attempt to derail her wedding, his lies exposed in a blaze of truth, had only cemented her resolve. The Manhattan skyline stretched before her, its lights a tapestry of hope, reflecting the woman she'd become. Unbroken, radiant, free. The scars of betrayal lingered, faint but present, yet they no longer defined her. Today, 2 years after that sacred vow, Kendra stood in a new chapter, her soul a canvas painted with resilience and love. The city's pulse echoed her own, a rhythm of healing that drowned out the echoes of her past. In Central Park, the autumn leaves danced in the breeze, a golden cascade around Kendra, Malik, and their daughter Nia. The park buzzed with life, children laughing, joggers weaving through paths. But for Kendra, the world narrowed to the giggles of her 4-year-old, chasing a butterfly with boundless wonder. Her white dress, now a soft sweater and jeans, felt like a second skin, a far cry from the elegance she'd worn to mask her pain. Nia's tiny hand clutched hers, and Kendra's heart swelled. a tide of love washing away the last remnants of Aaron's shadow. Malik, pushing a stroller, grinned, his eyes warm with pride. "She's got your fire," he said, his voice a soft caress. Kendra laughed, the sound light, unburdened. "And your heart," she replied, her gaze meeting his. Malik's love had been her anchor, not a chain like Aaron's had become, but a steady presence that let her soar. She'd spent years fighting, Olivia's schemes, Aaron's betrayal, her own doubts. But here, in this moment, she was whole. The park's breeze carried a promise, whispering that she'd found her place, not just in Malik's arms, but in her own strength. Her thoughts drifted to the past, not with pain, but with clarity. She'd poured a decade into Aaron, balancing his dreams while her own burned quietly. His choice in that warehouse, his lies at her wedding, had nearly broken her. But they'd also forged her. She'd risen as CEO, turned Pinnacle into a titan, and now she was giving back. Her latest project, a foundation for women escaping domestic violence, had grown from her pain, a beacon for others. Each donation, each story of survival, felt like a piece of her heart given to the world. As Nia ran ahead, Kendra's mind lingered on a recent moment. At a foundation event, a young woman had approached her, eyes shining with gratitude. "Your story saved me," she'd said, her voice trembling. "I left because you showed me I could." Kendra's throat had tightened, the words a mirror to her journey. She'd smiled, hiding the tears, and said, "You saved yourself." The memory warmed her now, a reminder that her pain had purpose, her scars a map for others. Malik's hand found hers, grounding her. "You're quiet," he said, his voice gentle. "Thinking about the foundation?" "About everything," Kendra admitted, her voice soft. "How far I've come, how much I almost lost." Her heart ached, not for Aaron, but for the woman she'd been, questioning her worth, clinging to a love that betrayed her. Malik's touch was a reminder that she'd found something truer, a love that saw her fully. Nia's laughter pulled her back, the girl tumbling into the grass, her curls bouncing. Kendra knelt beside her, brushing dirt from her cheeks. "You're unstoppable, little one," she said, her voice thick with love. Nia giggled, hugging her tight, and Kendra's heart sang. This was her legacy, not just Pinnacle, not just the foundation, but this child, this family, this life she'd built from the ruins. As they walked, a stranger approached, his face weathered, his eyes heavy with purpose. "Miss Williams," he said, holding out a USB drive. "This is from Aaron Hayes. He asked me to give it to you." Kendra's breath caught, the name a ghost from a life she'd left behind. She took the drive, her fingers steady, but her heart trembled. Aaron, in prison for fraud after his wedding stunt, had faded from her world. Why now? That evening, in their cozy Harlem brownstone, Kendra sat alone in her study, the USB drive in her hand. Nia slept upstairs, Malik in the kitchen, the scent of his cooking a quiet comfort. She plugged in the drive, Aaron's face appearing on her laptop screen, gaunt and worn. His voice was low, raw with regret. "Kendra," he began, "I grew up fighting for everything. Money, status, control. I thought love was something you hold tight, like a prize. I was wrong. I betrayed you, chose Olivia, hurt you in ways I can't undo. Malik's a good man. Be happy. You deserve it." Kendra's chest tightened, a flicker of old pain surfacing. Aaron's words were a confession, a plea, but they stirred no longing. She saw him clearly now, a man broken by his own choices, his regret too late to matter. Her heart ached, not for him, but for the years she'd spent believing in him. She'd given him everything, only to be cast aside. Yet from that pain, she'd built a life richer than he could imagine. She closed the laptop, her eyes dry. The woman who'd stood outside that bedroom door, heartbroken, was gone. In her place was Kendra Williams, CEO, mother, wife, survivor. She tucked the USB into a drawer, a relic of a past she'd outgrown. Her heart, once shattered, was whole, stitched together by her own strength and Malik's love. Stepping outside, Kendra joined Malik and Nia in the garden, their laughter a melody. Nia ran to her, arms wide. "Mama, look at my flower!" she squealed, holding up a dandelion. Kendra knelt, her heart swelling. "It's perfect, baby," she said, her voice thick. "Just like you." Malik wrapped an arm around her, his warmth a shield against the world. "You okay?" he asked, his eyes searching hers. Kendra nodded, her smile genuine. "I'm free," she said, her voice steady. The words were a vow, not just to Malik, but to herself. She'd fought through betrayal, built an empire, and found a love that didn't demand her sacrifice. As Nia danced in the grass, Kendra's gaze drifted to the city skyline, its lights a promise kept. She turned her pain into purpose, her scars into stars. The foundation, her family, her strength. They were her legacy. Aaron's video was a final echo, but it held no power. She was Kendra Williams, a woman who'd risen from ashes to claim her dawn. Kendra leaned into Malik, her heart full. Nia's laughter rang out, a song of hope. The city hummed, its rhythm hers. "You're my dream," she whispered to Nia, to Malik, to herself. The past was gone, and Kendra was home. Kendra's journey from heartbreak to triumph leaves us breathless, a testament to resilience and self-love. Her rise above Aaron's betrayal and Olivia's schemes speaks to the strength within us all. What did you feel as Kendra reclaimed her power? Did Aaron's regret stir sympathy, or was his fate deserved? Share your thoughts. How did this story touch you? Your reflections bring this tale to life, connecting us through its raw emotion and unyielding spirit. Thank you for joining Kendra's Odyssey, for feeling her pain and celebrating her victory. Your presence makes this story more than words. It's a shared heartbeat. Stay tuned for more tales of courage and redemption, where broken hearts forge unbreakable souls. Until we meet again, keep chasing your own light, just as Kendra did.